Thanks so much to all of you. We're going to begin a first round of questioning. A vote has been called, so I'm going to begin with a round of questioning. I'm going to go vote while Senator Cruz then asks a round of questioning. If he finishes and I'm not back, we'll take a short recess and I'll be back to follow up with more questions because your testimony has really raised a series of very profound and important issues that we should discuss and make a record of. I will just tell you a lot is going on in the United States Senate today and this week. So I apologize that some of my colleagues are not here. They may appear, but there are all kinds of meetings and floor proceedings going on, but have no doubt that what you say will be read. It will be not only part of the record, but I'm hoping that it will give rise to action in the form of proposed legislation, and that it will be bipartisan because we have that kind of consensus here on the need for some action. Let me begin with you, Mr. Klaus, if I may. You have worked consistently since your injury, pretty much consistently, as a warehouse and forklift operator, a welder, a biotechnician. You've clearly been productive, and you also have some income as a result of the personal injury case that was brought on your behalf. Let me ask you if you could expand a little bit more on how the guardianship affected your financial decisions or your inability to make decisions even after you were married. You made reference earlier to the guardian or conservator having to approve your purchases of diapers and baby formula. Maybe if you could expand on the impact on your financial decisions of the guardian or conservator.
Yeah, it went as far down to as asking. I had to ask for money every time I wanted to make a purchase, and it could be all the way down to just wanting some gas so I could get to work. And I'd say more times than not, any of my requests, they'd be denied.
So those requests actually were denied when you asked to spend money?
Yes, and my wife, well, she was my fiance at the time, and then after she became my wife, she had to pick up those costs.
So she was paying for your expenses because the conservator or guardian was denying
Yes.
permission. And how did that make you feel?
Worthless, to be honest.
I can understand.
Absolutely worthless. Work all those hours and not be able to bring that money home to my family.
So you were earning that money, but you were denied the right to decide how to use it.
Yes.
Ms. Brennan-Cohn, that is pretty striking for me, and I wonder if I could ask you whether that happens a lot, whether it's common. I'm struck by the fact that those paychecks from Mr. Klaus's job paid the legal fees, among other things, for the parent's lawyer. And that strikes me as a pretty stark conflict of interest among many other indignities that it caused Mr. Klaus. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that facet.
Certainly. We don't have, as many people have said, we don't have comprehensive data on anything in this sphere. We don't even know how many people are in guardianship, so we don't know statistically how often this happens. But a guardian or a conservator having control over the person's money is a very routine part of guardianships and conservatorships, and how that control is exercised is very much in the hands of the guardian, who can make choices out of spite, who can make choices because they think the person should be prioritizing other things. They think they're going to the gas station, whether the gas is more expensive. It can be anything. And so these types of experiences where people are sort of, it's really creating dependence where where it's not necessary, and that has a real harm on people financially, but also emotionally as well. The way Nick has testified to how this affected him is very compelling, and unfortunately is not an unusual situation.
That one word, worthless, is haunting.
Yes, and the idea of guardianship is supposed to be this sort of benevolent way to help people, and it is so far from that in so many cases. In cases where there's outright abuse, and even in cases where there isn't. The message that you're being told that you're a child and your choices and your wishes don't matter is an extraordinarily compelling message to give people, and very, very harmful.
But in some ways, it's worse than treating someone as a child, because a parent, I'm a parent of 4 children, tries to really develop decision-making and encourages someone to make a decision, even though you may think as a parent, it's not the best thing in the world to do. The idea of decision-making is that you learn from mistakes. That's sometimes how we learn best. At least I'm speaking for myself. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. It's treating capacity and what you can do as completely static, that what you can do right now is all you'll ever be able to do, which is particularly devastating for people who get into guardianships right when they turn 18, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's called the school to guardianship pipeline. And to be told when you're 18, I think many of us can think back of when we were 18, and if a judge looked at, how things were going, they might have had some questions, right? And we sort of learned from those, and things improved, we hope, for many of us in some ways. And that is presumed to be not what's going to happen for people with disabilities. And that's simply not true. People with disabilities learn, they might learn differently, but they learn, and you're told that if you can't count back from 100 by sevens, you can't do anything in your life. Like, unless your job is counting back from 100 by sevens, that is not a core life skill.
I have a lot of other questions. I'm going to pursue them. I'm going to turn to Senator Cruz. He has another commitment, I believe, a floor speech at 4 p.m., so I'm going to let him do his questions. I'm going to vote. I'll be right back.